I'm just sharing the slide. So we are in chapter number 15. Today we are going to see shlok number 7, 8 and 9. So we'll move on to the shloka first.
May I read, Prabhuji?
Yes, please, Mataji.
Mamai vamsho jiva loke jiva bhuta sanatanaha manashashta indriyani prakritistani karshyati. Hare Krishna.
Mataji, can you read the translation also?
Yeah. The living entities in the conditioned world are my eternal fragmental parts. Due to the conditioned life, they are struggling very hard with their senses, which include the mind. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Thank you, Mataji. Someone want to read the shlok number 8?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Kalyani Mataji.
Text 15.8. Shariram yad vapnoti yachaput yutkra matishwaraha grihitaitvani sayyati vayurgandhani vashayat. A translation by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The living entity in the material world carries his different conceptions of life from one body to another as Prabhuji, the shloka is changed.
Yes, sorry.
As the air carries aromas, thus he takes one kind of body and again quits it to take another. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Anybody want to read the shlok number 9?
Can I read, Prabhuji? Sorry.
Yes, Mataji.
Please go ahead, Mataji.
Sorry, can I read, Mataji?
Yes, please
yes.
go ahead. Sorry
Yes.
for interrupting. Sorry.
Shariram yadavapnoti yachapi utkramatishvara.
Sorry, it is the 8th number. We are in 9.
Stotram chakshusprshanam cha rasanam granameva cha adhishtaya manaschayam vishayanupasevate. The living entity, thus taking another gross body, attains a certain type of ear, eye, tongue, nose, and sense of touch, which are grouped about the mind. He thus enjoys a particular set of sense objects. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Thank you, Mataji. So these 3 shlokas of 15th chapter we are going to see today. And earlier, like chapter 14, we remember that we read about 3 gunas. So Satoguna, Rajoguna and Tamoguna. So we saw all the characteristic of these 3 gunas. And we saw that how these living entities, they are tangled because of these 3 gunas. So to get freed from these 3 gunas, so what do you think? What is the solution? So we already read that these 3 guna, they tangled us in the material world. But what is the solution? Anybody want to?
Unflinching devotional service.
Yeah, Kalyani Mataji said devotional service. And Siddhi Mataji, you said something?
Yeah. Krishna conscious and devotional service.
Krishna consciousness and devotional. So ultimately, this is all taking the shelter of God. Right? So we understood that if we want to get freed from these 3 gunas, the only solution is we have to take the shelter of God. So now it is very much clear that the main problem is these 3 gunas, Satoguna, Rajoguna and Tamoguna. So if we now know that if we take the shelter of God, we can actually escape from this qualities of three gunas. But is it so simple actually? We said ki okay, we will take the shelter of God, but only question is whether it is so simple. So it is actually not very simple, because our one leg is in material world and another we are putting the other leg in spiritual world, right? So, but anyway, it is good that we are at least initiated this path. Just imagine the people who are unaware of this Vedas. They even don't know what is spiritual world, what is material world. So, but now we know that at least we have gone towards we have taken one step towards the spiritual world. But the problem is our one leg is in the material world. That is why it is not so simple also. And to cut that, we have to turn opposite to the material world. But again, that doesn't mean we leave everything, we leave all our duties, we leave our families, we leave our spouse, we leave our kids. So nowhere it is saying that you actually, ignore them, all the relations. So those are our duties. We have to continue doing it. But staying in that, we have to turn opposite to the material world. That is why it is not so easy, because now you see how it is actually tangling. It is actually entangling. So in chapter number 15, this present chapter, if you see the overview, the first 6 shlokas, 1 to 6 shlokas of this chapter, it is talking about attaining liberation by detachment. And if you remember, we have learned about this upside down banyan tree. So we'll not get into too much detail, because last few days we have just covered that. But as an overview, like first 6 shlokas, it is talking about attaining liberation by detachment. So, but what if we don't get liberation? Then it is more describing here in shlok number 7 to 11. And we are covering today 7 to 9. So this 7 till 11, it is talking about what will happen if you are not getting liberated. You will get bondage and transmigration. So what is transmigration is basically, we know that this soul, they migrate from one body to another body. Not necessary that you will always get human body. That is very dangerous, right? We are seeing that in human body itself, the suffering is so much. Imagine if we get any other body other than human body, what will be the suffering? If we go to the lower planet, what will be the suffering? So that is why this liberation or moksha is very important. So to cut down this bondage and transmigration. So now we are seeing this first shloka, this 7th shloka, where if you see this shloka, it has actually 2 parts. And both these parts are very important. So this first part, Mama eva angsha jiva loke. So Krishna is telling that all living beings in conditioned life are my amsa. Jiva bhuta sanatan. They are eternally my part and parcel. So it is very clearly mentioned by Krishna that all these jeev, they are my amsa. They are my part. They are my part and eternal part and parcel. Eternally means forever. There is no beginning, no end. That is what is eternal. So it is, since it is started, it is like that. It is my, jivas are my part and parcel since time immemorial. So we are Amsa and we are Sanatana Amsa. So this is very important, because if you see this Mayavadi impersonalist, they have a different concept or different idea, that they talk about after, after living entity, they die, they get merged. They get merged with God. That is their thinking. But here, if you see, Krishna is saying, definitely you are the Amsa, but we are also Sanatana Amsa. So very important to understand what is the difference here. So it is said that we are part. So can part become whole? Means, can they become merged with the God? The answer is no. So part will not get merged. So we will also see with different examples here. And it is also important to note is that Mama Amsa, not Brahma Amsa. So this Mayavadi, they talk about if we get into this Brahma Lok, Brahma, so which is not exactly the God, but the light, right? So if you see like this, we are not just spark of spirit, right? We are part of spiritual person. So spiritual person is the Lord, the spiritual person. So as an example, you can think like this. Supreme Lord is a big fire and we are the spark, right? But we cannot be the fire, right? We just came out of fire because we are spark from the fire, but ultimately we cannot become the fire. So that difference we have to understand from this first part of this shloka. And then the second part, it is talking about mana sisthani indriyani prakriti sthani karshita. Karshati, what is karshati? Karshati actually meaning struggling and suffering. So it is also expressed earlier, dukhalayam ashvasatam. So if you have read in this chapter number 8, shlok number 15th, talking about dukhalayam ashvasatam, right? And then nityam asukham loka. That is referring somewhere chapter number 9, 33 shlok. And then in chapter number 13, 11th shloka, we are seeing Janma Mrityu Jaravyadi. So that is referred that this material world is the place of misery and the living entity is suffering over here. So clearly in different shlokas here, it is talking about how this living entity in this material world is suffering or struggling. So the struggle from happiness and suffering is happening because of, why it is happening? Because of mind and senses. So normally we know that our indriyas are considered 5. But you see in Bhagavad Gita, indriyas are often grouped with mind. And even when Krishna is talking about Sankhya Yoga, right, in 13:6, there also he said, Indriyani dasa ekam cha. So actually he is referring 11. So what is this 11? What is this 11 entities? So Krishna includes that 5 karma indriyas are there, 5 jnana indriyas are there, and the 11th one is the mind. So what is this 5 karma indriyas? We know that voice, legs, hands, anus, genitals. 5 Gyan Indriyas are eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and skin. And the 11th one is the mind. So he is bound by the false ego. Who is he? The living entity. He is bound by the false ego. And it says that mind is the chief agent. He is the actual culprit, which is driving him in this material existence. So you see this, when mind is in the mode of goodness, his activities are good. Hope you agree this. When we are in the mode of goodness, our activities are good. And when the mind is in the mode of passion, the activities are troublesome. So, and when the mind is in the mode of ignorance, he travels in the lower species of life. So, there is something to take away from this. We cannot say that our mind is always in goodness, or always in the mode of passion, or always in the mode of ignorance. It keeps on wandering. So you see, that is why it is referred here as the mind is the chief agent. So when the mind is in the mode of goodness, the activities are different. And similarly in passion, we are in passion and ignorance, our activities are different. Right? Then when we go to this slok number 18, slok number 8, the living entity in this material world carries this different concept of life from one body to another, as the air carries aromas. Thus, we take one kind of body and again quits it to take another. So what happens? So one get the sharira. What kind of sharira? It depends on one's karma. It is very important to note here. One's karma decide one's sharira. Shariram yat avnoti. So when the mind, when the wind, right, when the wind blows through a fragrant garden, we know that it carries this aroma. Similarly, our soul also acquires different concepts of what is life, how is life meant to be enjoyed. Some people, you see, they are sadist, means they enjoy more when they see other people are suffering. Right? Some of the people, they are sadists. They enjoy other people suffering. Any example can be quote here from Shastra? Any person who is sadist and he enjoy to see other people suffering? Any Prabhuji's, Mataji's?
Hiranyakashipu.
Hiranyakashipu.
Drone. नहीं
Yes.
दुर्योधन
Duryodhan.
दुर्योधन
Yes. They can be referred as sadist. Mrigari, right? Mrigari was also a sadist. What he used to do, he used to cut living entity and make them suffer. So these kind of people, basically, they enjoy when other people suffer. So in goodness, we want to be happy and we want other also to be happy. So you see these three modes, right? So people who are in goodness, they want to be happy and they want other also to be happy. But people who are passionate, what is their nature? They want to be happy. And they don't care whether the other person is happy or not. Let me be happy first. But in the case of ignorance, people who are in the mode of ignorance, tamoguni, what they do? They want to be happy. They want to be happy and others should be miserable. As we discussed this, Mrigari and Duryodhana and others, right? So one common thing here is all these modes, they want to be happy. Only difference is how they treat other. What is their consciousness about other living entities? So you see, it is very horrible. So different people have different concept of what makes them happy. But very important to note here is the soul can choose its destination by choosing to do right things. When we see this air passing from this garden of fragrant flowers, aroma comes, and I mean, the wind have no power here to actually drive himself from different paths. But you see here, that is the difference where soul actually can choose its destination. Which destination, whether to go in the right path or wrong path. And this right or wrong we have already studied when we discussed about this gunas, right? What is wrong, what is right, that we know now. So whole thing is here, we can choose, the soul can choose the journey of transmigration. Transmigration will happen, but where we will go, that choice is given to us. So soul can go from one body to another body. Depends on what kind of conceptions we acquire when we come to this material world. So that was described here in Shlok number 8. And then when we go to Shlok number 9, it says that the living entity, thus taking another gross body, obtain a certain type of ear, eyes, tongue, nose, and sense of touch. Correct? We agree this, every living entity, when it migrates from one body to another body, so it takes this gross body. We have discussed about all this gross body, subtle body, right? So it attained, every entity this attained, ear, eyes, tongue, nose, sense of touch, right? They are grouped about the mind. So these are actually grouped about the mind. So what that means actually? So with this mind, actually, they enjoys a particular set of sense objects. So the sense objects are given to us. All this air, eyes, tongue, nose, skin. And through mind, actually, they enjoy these sense objects. Prahlad Maharaja, he said once that a person who is having many wives are dragged, right? They are dragged by different wives. Similarly, a soul is dragged by senses. Sometimes all the senses are attracted towards one sense object, but often they are in different directions. So we try to understand this, what is actually, how it is attracted and what direction it is going. So this way, basically, we have to understand that soul tries to enjoy. But as a result, what happened? Souls get bound. It get entangled. So you try to understand like this here. We have 5 fingers, right? They are centered around the palm. Similarly, our 5 senses are centered around this mind. So the input from all these senses come to mind, right? Input from all these senses. See, whatever we see, it comes from there, it connects and goes to the mind. So like that, our ears, whatever we hear, it then connects to the mind. So like that, there is a interconnection. So scientifically, if you see our brain, in our brain, there are different neurons, right? So what these neurons do, these neurons actually capture different things. It capture different things, and in mind, it get processed. So you try to understand like this in computer, right? Whatever a file or any information goes as a input, then the CPU, the processing unit of that computer, it process that and it tried to sense something. Our mind is just similar thing, right? So in our head, we have this brain that consists of these neurons. And through the senses, so the senses is acquiring, it's seeing, it hearing, and it's sensing different things, and it give the input to the brain. And this neuron basically is the CPU, the processing unit. It basically process and takes things in a different way. You see like this, when you show a knife to a thief, or you take like this, a knife is kept somewhere and two people are looking on it. One person may be a thief and another person may be a doctor. So doctor will take it and think about surgery and healing some person, right? But the thief is, same knife is there, but the thief is taking it and he's trying to you know he's trying to murder somebody. So now you see that the eyes are seeing the same object, but brain is actually transforming it or the consciousness. Basically, that is what we call as consciousness. They actually drive them to a different path. So, different part of brain captures different things like color, action, shape, but there is no part of the brain which are like integrating all of these things. All these things happens at synchronous. See, at one time, synchronous means at one time, all these multiple things are happening, right? At one time, we are seeing something, we are hearing something, right? But even till date, it is a mystery for even the neuroscientist. Where is this integration in the brain actually, or in the neurons, where this parallelly happening? So where is this integration happening in the mind? Huh? Where is this integration happening? So this brain or mind, we are calling this as a subtle body, right? If you remember earlier, we talked about this. So all these signals which are coming through various routes, right? Through the subtle body. Subtle body, we discussed mind, intelligence, and false ego. False ego, right? Mild intelligence and false ego. And the subtle body is actually representing the soul. When we talk about soul, the subtle body is representing the soul. And then soul takes decision and it tries to enjoy it. So the conclusion here is the consciousness is pure if the spirit soul is pure. But consciousness is changed according to the association of the material qualities. So now we can connect how our association basically change our consciousness. So as we discussed, we have a choice. That is why we always hear, right? Associate with good people. don't associate with the bad people, because that makes our consciousness pure. And earlier, Prabhuji talked about ABCD, right? So ABCD is the actual way or path to make our consciousness pure. So what is this ABCD? What is A stands in ABCD?
Associate.
Association, right? Association with devotees. Oh, what B stands in ABCD?
Books.
Book reading.
Yeah, book reading, Srila Prabhupada book reading, not any book reading, Srila Prabhupada book reading. What about C?
Chanting.
Chanting. And D?
Diet.
Diet. Prasadam, Krishna Prasadam. So if we have to make our consciousness pure, we have to follow this ABCD. And the best thing is that, though we know that Dukhale, Ashashtatam and Janam Mityu Jaravadi, life is a misery, we have to always suffer. But good thing is that we have a choice. We have a choice to clean our consciousness through this ABCD. So that is what we have learned from these 3 shlokas here today. So anybody want to add anything or any doubt or any question?
Prabhuji, it simply means that even if we encounter difficult situations negative vibrations from others, we should not get affected by them and send positive vibrations to them. Does it
Yes.
mean? That is so
Yes.
difficult, no, Prabhuji?
Yes. It is definitely difficult because of this Maya, right? What we call Maya. But we are talking about purification of consciousness, right? So earlier we learned about this key, some part of tamogun and rajogun we always will have, right? Because we are into the material world. So we cannot be totally, from day one, we cannot be pure devotee. So you see this pure devotee, when we talk about pure devotee, we talk about Goswamis. So who are away from, out of all these senses, right? These 5, they are away. They have won all these senses. They are called as Goswamis. So actually we define this happiness and sadness is basically the state of mind, right? We very well know that. And you see that people who are in or Goswamis, how they actually big troubles also, how easily they can handle it. But for some people, it is very difficult to handle some situations. We often see people do suicide because their consciousness is like that. They are weak-hearted, or you can say they cannot take small things. That is why when we do this Krishna consciousness, we understand all this, how to overcome this struggle, because we always take it like that, I am only struggling, I only have this problem. But Krishna clearly tells, when you are here, everyone has to suffer this, all this Janma Mrityu Jara Vyadi, everyone has to go through. So now, only thing is how to overcome all this, right? So as we see that a same night, different people are reacting in a different way. Similarly, all these miseries, a pure devotee will start reacting in a different way, and he knows that this suffering will be there if I again take this body, right? So somehow I have to go back to the Godhead so that tomorrow I don't have to suffer all this again. Janma Mrityu Jara Vyadhi, this is repeated cycle. We have to come out of it. So that is what basically it is talking. We have to have this Krishna consciousness so that we cannot see, we cannot neglect, we cannot bypass these struggles. We have to struggle, we have to face these miseries. Only thing is, we have to, how we can actually tolerate them. And that can be very easy when we take this Krishna consciousness. And when we do this ABCD, we are making sure that we don't get suffer in our next life. That is what Srila Prabhupada is also guaranteed. Ki once we do this ABCD, we don't have to again come back and suffer like this. So
Thank
Kalyani
you,
Mataji, is
Prabhuji.
that answer?
Yes, Prabhuji, thank you so much.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Prabhuji, sometimes people are put into such grave conditions. For example, recently Atul Subhash, who had to commit suicide. What about that, Prabhuji? There are so many young girls who are blackmailed and then they have to commit, they have no other choice because no law helps them, nobody helps them, and
Yes,
now everybody, everywhere there is corruption. What about that
yes,
situation, Prabhuji? You're forced to do, even if you know that, Krishna is there, but the
yes,
people over here don't allow you to live. Then what do you do,
yes,
Prabhuji, in such situations?
yes, yes. So yesterday, Gopal Maharaj, he was mentioning one thing. Somebody asked him, "Ki in Bangladesh, our ISKCON temples are brutally attacked. Devotees are murdered. So why we are not reacting? Why we are keeping quiet?" So he was mentioning that we don't have to react to it. We don't have to react to it. But definitely we have to protest against it. So the thing is, as you mentioned, Mataji, this previous incidents, what happened. So this is the whole thing, Mataji. We are not perfect, right? So that is the reason this system is also not perfect. The system is so imbalanced. You see these laws, lawmakers, right? The way the systems are, or the people who are authorized to make these systems, there are so many flaws, right? They are so imperfect that people are not able to take it up, right? So such people, they commit suicide because they think there is no option. But as a devotee, we know that ki, the system is made by ultimately human beings, right? And we know that from Shastra, ki, who are these human beings? These human beings are actually people who have five senses, and that is the limitation. So how you can expect somebody who is blind by his eyes, how he can define whether this particular object is an elephant or is it a horse? Because he has some limitation. So these five senses are again having all these five senses doesn't mean that this person is perfect. Lord is clearly saying this, that these senses are our limitations. Whatever we are seeing may not be the reality. It is actually a bottleneck to some extent. If we see a room from outside, it doesn't mean inside nobody is there. But from our eyes is not able to see that. So that is the limitation. So that is what is that, ki if you don't read the Shastras, if you don't do this bhakti, then what will happen? You will have a weak heart and you will think that system, where I will go? I have no options to go. But as a devotee, I know that this system is supposed to be having flaws. We cannot say that this system is perfect. It cannot be, because every person have a limitation. And within that, if a person have more tamoguni, then you know what will be the association and what will be the result. Only thing what we have to do is, we know that whatever is happening is because we are suffering because of our past karmas. And that is why, to stop this, we have to actually get out of this birth and death cycle. So this, whatever time goes, the system will be like this. System can never be perfect. And some people will be able to tolerate, some people will not be able to tolerate, some people will make others' life more miserable, like we discussed about tamogunis, right? So this will happen. How we will react to it is more important. Whether we'll take a revenge or how we'll take the situation. So we have to fight. That is what the actual way to react to it. So is that answer the question, Preeti Mataji?
Yes, Prabhuji, thank you.
Hare
So that
Krishna,
is why it
Prabhuji.
is very important that from childhood, people, the kids should be aware of our Shastras or Krishna consciousness. Then they will not take this kind of step, because as we know that people may think, ki, I don't have any other way. I am dying every day because of this suffering. Let me do suicide. But they don't know ki this birth and death is not in hand of us. I may think ki if I do suicide, my all troubles are or trouble will be over. But that is actually, suicide is more dangerous. What will happen is, he will not get liberation. He cannot take the human body also. And when, at least in human body, when the soul was inside the human body, he can express. But when he do suicide, the soul is wandering. He cannot express, he cannot tell somebody. It is more dangerous condition than being in the body and suffer. So we have to tolerate. We have to tolerate the system, as we know that everything we cannot control. Everything we cannot control. Whatever is happening because of our past karma, and then we know this miseries, right? Devik, Adi Devik, Shaktis, 3 miseries which are affecting us. So we cannot control everything. We can only react how we can actually take the things.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
There
Mataji.
are many organizations which are offering services like help to these kind of victims, but
Yes.
it is not I mean, we are not seeing it in our daily lives, unless I don't know how it is available, but at least these big temples
Yeah.
like ISKCON and others, there are many temples now, and we have many leaders and gurus. Why can't they bring it out in the TV or radio or in WhatsApp, that in case this comes into your mind, you just approach us, we are there for you. It should be like a propaganda, because these young children and there is a lot of suffering and torture. People are going through hell actually.
Yes. Yes.
I'm not seeing any
True,
kind of
Mataji.
help because they don't know. Probably they are born in families like who are atheistic and who cannot
Yes.
provide this kind of spiritual support.
Yes.
So why can't we take it as an initiative and talk to our gurus and the administration and make
Yes.
it a propaganda that every soul in the world knows that, oh, if I'm in trouble, at least if I'm in trouble, I can approach these people.
Yes. Yes. Yes, Mataji. Actually, if you see, ISKCON is doing a lot. Actually, if you see the total population of world, how much percent of people are devotees? Very few, right? Very minute. And ISKCON is going to different schools, different institution, and they are teaching this. But what is happening is, our society, So ISKCON, they cannot relate. There are two different things. One is materialist things and one is spiritual things, right? People want immediate result. They cannot relate this spiritual concept with results. So that is why many people, they just hear and just they bypass, and they many things it is all whatever these teachings of Vedas, they are not practical, they think, right?
Yes, yes,
Because
yes,
they
I
are not
know.
getting immediate result. But if you see, ISKCON is what not it is doing actually. You see, ISKCON is also, Prabhupada has gone to places like Russia also, where it is so difficult to preach this Vedas. You see how in Bangladesh, ISKCON devotees are suffering, but still they are continuing that. They are not in protest, they are not taken the path of, same thing by hitting back, physically hitting back, right? So that is the thing. It takes a lot of time, Mataji, because
Yes,
this
Prabhuji, I
path
can
is not
understand.
so. But yeah, ISKCON is spreading. They are trying to educate in you see every IITs they are going to different ashrams, they are going, um, uh, unprivileged schools they are going. Then every area we are having bhakti vrikshas. People know, I mean, many people we call them, but still they just, try to ignore. They say they don't have time. They say different reasons, but still ISKCON is trying to spread through various medias and things like that. It is only thing is our eyes and ears are not open to accept it. That's the only thing. And until unless the society actually takes this route or this path, this kind of things will happen. Some people will, uh, you know, make miserable laws, and some people will keep suffering like this. So that will keep on happening. And as we know, this is Kali Yuga. It is only the beginning. Just think about, or you might have realized it, 20 years back, things were much better. And now we are saying we are progressing, we are developing, or we are a developed nation. Still, our lives, the quality of life is going down. What is the point of having so automated things, making bullet trains, by reducing our distance and making on a click of a button, we get food in our home. What is the point of having all this automated and luxuries when your quality of life is not good? So that we have to understand. And that is what ISKCON is trying to preach everybody, so that people try to take this situation and they know that we have not come here to enjoy. We have come here to get off of this material world. That is the whole objective, which people are lacking, who are not going towards this devotional service.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Sumantra Mataji, you want to add anything, Mataji?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji Dhanvad. Prabhu, like actually in the society now, it's the endurance level has come down so much.
Yes.
Children in school, you're participating in sports, everybody is given a participation certificate. In our times, it was just the first, second, third. At home, the parents are just yielding to anything. And the worst thing is you do not talk. You have to open up to somebody who is able to listen to you, or you can trust. Even Arjuna spoke to Krishna. He did.
Yes.
Otherwise, he would have not fought the war. There is always something in your mind. This is right. This is wrong. And committing suicide is not easy, Prabhu. It is like
Yeah.
squeezing ketchup without a hole. I mean,
Correct.
the soul takes a lot of pain to get out of that body.
Yes.
And when we talk about rapes, we talk about, like Preeti Mataji asked, and you correctly answered, it has got a lot to do with your past karmas. And some person who is possessed with subtle bodies, it is because the body is weak, the mind is weak. They are born like that. They have a weaker body.
Yes.
So, I mean, this law of karma and this circle of why it happens is very, very tricky.
Yes.
Prabhu, just recently a family friend, she's got 2 twin daughters, and they had just shifted into a very high-tech building. And from the 22nd floor, the mother just shouted at one of the girls, and she said, "You're all the time on the laptop,
Yes.
And she said, "You're not working, you don't want to do anything." I mean, it's something very, very simple.
Yes.
And the father happened to be at home, and he said, "Why don't you listen to your mother?" And he took the other daughter out. And this particular girl, she said, "See, even my father supported mommy."
Yes.
And in the middle of the night, when the mother just got up to use the loo, she saw the door of the, she just peeped into the door of the room, and she did not see the girl on the bed.
Yes.
And she just went into the drawing room, and it was ajar. The girl was lying down on the floor at the wee of the morning at 2:30 with nobody knowing.
Yes.
So the state of mind of children. So I tell parents, I tell my children, please, I tell my daughter-in-law and my, they're so wrapped up, Prabhu. Their lives are so busy. Aaj ye party hai, aaj wo bulaya hai, aaj idhar
Yes.
pile. I said, please give time to your children, and
Correct.
tell them nobody likes it, and don't over, and the other extreme is anything the children want at the drop of a hat, it is available.
Yes.
Both parents are working. So, and you talk, I mean, no, I don't know how Mataji will like it, the way you're dressed, the way you're moving. I don't say pehle rapes nahi hote the. Yeah, these places, these sort of situations were not created before. But then
Yes.
you have to be you have to be rough and tough to get out.
Correct.
Situations are bad, Prabhu. I don't deny it.
Yes.
Sure, you and I also go through this many a times. I go
Yes.
through many weak moments. I have a lot of Arjuna moments in my life.
Yeah.
Sometimes, it's enough is enough. But then suicide is not the answer to it.
Correct. Correct.
I'm sorry
is
if I'm getting carried away, but this is what it is.
Yes, exactly, Mataji. And so we have to see this key, what path we are taking. Basically, all this people are doing competition, they are running just to improve their material life. That is the problem. And that is why our Shastras is saying ki we have to cut this material bondage. If we want to have eternal happiness, we have to cut this material bondage. But so society is trying to improve the materialistic things. That is why parents, they are running, they are neglecting their child, and in turn, what is happening? They become very sensitive and emotional because they are not getting proper guidance, and they are getting more luxurious items. If something is not given to them, they are immediately reacting. So these are all materialistic concepts. That is why people continue to suffer more because the materialistic concepts or the comfort, when it goes to certain level, below that people will not they will not compromise. That is why they take these drastic steps like suicide or reacting badly. So that we have to understand. So, yeah, we have a good discussion, and we are thankful that we have taken this good path, and we are able to react properly by not, whatever people, the tamogunis are doing, right? We know that how to gradually improve ourselves, through our conditioning our mind and take the spiritual path. So that may reduce. So Prabhupada, as he was mentioning, we cannot completely stop these miseries when we are living in this world. But definitely we will be able to tolerate things. We'll not take drastic steps like suicide and other things. So that is the beauty of the Krishna consciousness. So thank you, Prabhujis and Matajis. It was a good discussion. So we'll join tomorrow again. Grantaraj Bhagavad Gita ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you for joining.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare
Thank
Krishna.
you,
Hare
Hare
Prabhuji.
Krishna, Prabhuji, pranam,
Thank you.
pranam to everybody assembled. Hare Krishna.
Dandavat
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Dandavat pranam.
Pranam, Mataji.
क्या चल रहा है भैया?